This is the final part of the series, where everyone will share their thoughts on what design will look like in the future and what continues to inspire them.
This is almost time for like reinvention, recalibration of the different work that you're doing. Like, I think you're all doing work to address different problems of design. But, like Ed just said, we can almost say like this is a renaissance, and it's a time to kind of rediscover, reset, and just kind of maybe relaunch, kind of rethink the purpose of what we're doing, and then and that, if we do that globally, that is for the greater good of all societies wherever we are based. And that's very meaningful. Do you guys all feel that because that was another question that I had with that, was that where do you guys see design going in the next 10 years? Post-COVID, I guess, when you've kind of figured out the greater purpose of what we're each respectively doing, would like nature continue to be a huge part of it? I think it would be, but also, what we're doing as designers and architects and developers, is what we're doing. Is it ethical design? I think there's so many issues we can touch upon and explore. But then if I had to ask each of you one key direction that you think, would be the way forward in design, could you share what you think that might be? Anyone could go first. Anyone who can think of how to respond to this.
Well, I let me start then. I think the design is going to be will be extremely eclectic, in my opinion, because now with during this whole COVID-19 period, I think people tends to we've been very reliant on social media, but I think even this period, I think everyone here has been doing so many like this kind of Zoom interview, a lot meeting journalists over internet, and I think our life has so much rely on that. And actually, yes, even before that, I feel because of the social media, which makes a particular design style or design trend, the lifespan, like back in the 90s, like the minimalism and that kind of thing, it lasts much longer. But now the lifespan of each of the design style, if you like to use the term as a style, it makes it so short. But short, it doesn't diminish, but it makes everything coexist concurrently. So I think it down the road, now we see much more, and I think we just enjoy being this diversity in design. And yeah, I see, but I think comfort, as we all just mentioned, it's going to be an extremely important element, because now I haven't been wearing suit or any even a fitted shirt for the last 9 months. I've been always on I have all my clothes in one size bigger, not because I'm putting on weight, but I'm actually enjoying it. I don't need to be fitted. I can sit, I can do my yoga and sit on the floor. So I can lounge on the sofa. So I think this is the thing that after the COVID-19, perhaps we will all be missing. And maybe it will transform into a new norm. So I think that's what design is: eclectic and comfort. Yeah. That's mine.
Eclectic comfort, but is that more kind of driven by because its design is so personalized, like going forward, like, everyone's just going to go with, just be comfortable with, what they need, yeah, and addressing their own, their needs, really.
Yeah, the inner you, the innate
inner you can come out and shine.
Yes, exactly, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, what do you guys all think as well?
I think that's right. I think
Ed? Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think you're right. I think physical comfort and emotional comfort are two areas that we're going to deeply focus on in terms of how we think about the personal space around us. And this is a seismic shift, from where we were before. None of us had anticipated that we would spend so much time working from home. As family units as well. My son is, both my sons were home studying from home for a while. My older son has returned to college, but it's more of my wife and I both working at home with 2 kids also working at home. This is not how we had thought about our home space, and it's caused us to rethink quite a bit about how we're using it or how we want it to be. But I think emotional comfort's a huge factor in that, in that equation as well. And I think it, as I mentioned before, I do think this is probably the first complete worldwide trend, just because of the shared experience that we've all had, that has an opportunity to shift how we're, all thinking about this. And I think it'll mean different things in different places, again, for that sort of cultural anthropology about what generates comfort and how the types of personal space that we each sort of crave. But it's a very interesting question, and it opens so many doors for us from a design standpoint.
Yes, definitely interested to see what Ewan and Sue, what do you guys think as well? The future of design.
What do I go for, Sue? Maybe we'll save the best for the last, for Sue. Well, I think you've been looking at in the 3 areas of residential, hotel, and shopping center. There's no doubt that the residential aspects have to be changed, and I think it's beyond the designer itself, but I think the government needs to start changing the code, like the regulation that they have, where we used to always talk about how many % are facing sunlight, natural ventilation, but they need to start thinking about the space within the unit, within their own apartment, that accommodate a study room, or then a space beyond that, but also a garden space that is sufficient, because as we all know today, like the risk of infection outdoor is far less than the risk of infection indoor. So garden space that complies with that 144 square meter needs to be addressed. Now, normally it's kind of, when you start doing all of this extra thing, you're losing your net sellable area. So you always have to be a branded developer to be able to do all of that. But I think it needs to rethink, because the council code or the government code, it tends to be 10 to 20 years too late anyway, as we all know, right? And I think then it's to start thinking about the elements of natures and the like to be into that development. In the hotel, I think fresh air becomes the big thing. People are under lockdown for 14 days in Sydney, for instance, if they quarantine, and life is like hell inside there, no matter how good it is. And fresh air is so important. And even the big hotel in the city is actually very empty right now, because people don't like the idea of the air being recirculated inside the complex. In the shopping center, it seems to be what used to be not a popular thing now, or less popular, which is the neighborhood shopping center, is now going back into becoming a popular mode, because the big shopping center with the city, when there is a lockdown or virus of this kind, the whole city just disappear. In fact, the funny thing is that the hotel that we have in Parramatta, which is about 30 minutes away from the city, was getting about 70-80% occupancy when the city was about 20 to 30%. So it's rethinking residential and hotel, and also the shopping center thinking in terms of the type of investment. So I think there'll be a big comeback on the neighborhood shopping center, and I think that's which is going to be fun, because it decentralized the whole city. Instead of everybody going to one place and creating traffic jam, they don't have to do that, and they can start creating a walkable neighborhood rather than, where you have to travel, especially in a city like Los Angeles, right? Where you have to go everywhere, you got to drive to get there. But there's no reason why they can't start creating clusters after clusters where you don't really need to go anywhere. Your neighborhood is all sufficient to be a self-sustained community.
Yuan, that sounds actually very optimistic about the idea of a new type of retail. Actually, I was going to ask you more, since you're involved with, with the shopping centers as well. What's your outlook for sort of larger, retail? Obviously in New York, we still have flagship retail, but we don't, outside of the larger cities in the U.S., retail is declining sort of element. But you raise a very interesting point about neighborhood retail, which I hope will come to life.
I think in a way that what you can see, I'm seeing that a lot in LA, that even the shopping center like Westfield is starting to die down now. The new one that's like the platform, for instance, in Los Angeles, where the community are coming together, the art district, it's not just the shopping, because the shopping, every stuff is the same, you go everywhere, there will always be the same brand, but it's that community sense, that sense of a village, that engagement of sharing is what this new community or this younger generations are looking for. So when I went to LA, and what's fascinating with that is like the new neighborhood shopping center, like the platform attracted some of the best brand, despite the fact that they're actually located far away from the main thing. When you think about it, in the past, you have to be in the center of the city to attract the best brand. But now it's not the norm anymore. So if you create a night, if they create a night here that is unique, it actually becomes popular. But during the COVID-19 in Australia, because the main shopping center tends to be not food-based, and they're more entertainment, fashion, and the like, and they're considered to be non-essential as far as the government is concerned. So that a lot of them are just shutting down, and of course, and the government enforces a new policy where you cannot charge them the rent, and you get away 50% of that rent. It's one thing to do that to the customer, but the bank does not never waives the interest. On the other side, the bank will say, well, yeah, I can waive your interest, but you're going to have to pay the compounding rate. So it's kind of, this is what we're seeing in Sydney now, where neighborhood shopping centers are becoming very popular in the last few months.
Very interesting. And so, what do you think? The future of design?
Okay, I think to some extent, the future is dictated by also our clients, the younger generation. Very different attitudes. And there's so much that designers and architects can do, really. But I think if every designer, architect takes some agency in the cause and get together to work with authorities and developers, it needs to start top down. It needs to start from people with economic and legislative powers to loosen the planning parameters. From the architectural standpoint, for example, giving neutral areas free with certain amenities, additional plot ratio, it has to start from there. Because by and large, the business of building residential is also a commercial activity where developers make money, right? So I think agency is important, and then architects need to, if we are serious to change part of the future, we need to maybe take a different track, because I've been to so many conferences and webinars where we all talk about the problems, but beyond that, it doesn't get to make a huge
solution.
But I do think that greener cities will sustain. New York City is a very high density with good infrastructure as opposed to LA, where it's really much more consumption and perhaps electric car. But I do think that understanding what the next generation needs is very important. So it goes beyond the style. I think we are forced to all examine what has happened to us across the world, right? Whether after this austerity, there'll be a bounce back and have exuberance, for example. You look at the earlier pandemics, you have the roaring comeback of lifestyle before the big crash in the turn of the century. So still need a bit of time to see where the trend is going, and technology is changing so quickly. In 10 years, this Zoom technology will be outdated. So I'll be a bit hesitant to predict, but we all need to react quickly, and we all need to take agency. And I think for so long, we all believe that our profession can change the world, but no, it's a collaborative effort between designers, developers, authorities, and the market.
Definitely. And then that's wonderful. I think just one final question from me, because all of you are busy working on what you're doing. What I'm curious about is that how do you guys continue to derive inspiration for what you do? I know a lot of it is problem solving that you're doing. You're refiguring out the purpose of what you do, helping your customers solve their problems and coming to different solutions. But because a lot of people get inspiration from travel and from seeing different things, we haven't really been able to do that for quite a while now. How do you guys still get that inspiration, that spark, or that click when you're tackling the projects that you guys are doing now? Anyone can go first. Inspiration, aspiration.
I think oftentimes that as much as we talk about, we draw positiveness, inspiration from being surrounded by great positive people, which is important, and all never really stop learning.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, that the reality of life, it is desperation that often compels us to be the number one, because our business instinct just tells us that no one remembers the second man landing on the moon, and you just have to keep growing, and otherwise you're going to die. And it's reality that if you don't grow as a company, someone else is going to take over it very quickly. And I think sometimes it's that desperation that kicks us in. But part of it, for me personally, probably more the vision that keeps me inspired, because I wanted to design a city one day. So I've moved up from designing a house, single house, to 5 houses, to 15 units apartment, to now 5,000 apartments around the world, and moving from an apartment block to a shopping center, building on top of somebody else's shopping center, now building our own shopping center, our own hotel, our own residential, our own office. But my dream still one day that I think it's just designing a whole city, like a completely new city, and that's something that I'm hoping to realize it really in Indonesia, back in my hometown. Contribute
in Indonesia to redesign
it's
a whole city.
It's easier said than done, rather than but that's what keeps me going. It keeps me inspired to learn, and so everything to me is a jigsaw puzzle to fill up this bigger vision. So I learned on the hotel, stuffed it up on the hotel, stuffing up on the retail, but over time you kind of never giving up. It's almost the vision. The vision compels us to keep growing, because we don't know. I don't know yet the answer to that vision, or how to see that vision become reality.
Okay, but that's very inspiring, because I think we all need to see the light. We all are looking for that spark of positivity, and just see where no one knows how it's going to go on, but we're all. I think for us in media, we're looking a lot to you guys, what you guys are doing and creating for that inspiration and that light. And so I'm just really interested to hear from each of you, how you guys derive your inspiration, or and so Iwan said a lot of it is the vision and the aspiration for going forward. You might want to build a city and back in your hometown. What about Ed, and Sue? What about you guys?
For me, I think I realized that this pause from traveling, used to travel over 200 days a year.
Yes.
Essential. So I've created within my office a separate group called SED Lab. SED Lab.
Sorry, I couldn't catch. Okay.
And it's not that we can just rethink what's the future from our own office, but the purpose of having SED Labs to collaborate with other people who are doing advanced research. So we are collaborated with a New York group called Palais for the Oceans, their Sustainable Ocean, and we are working on the Ocean Research Center in the middle of Maldives. So that forces us to do our experiments on off-grid living. So by collaborating with agencies or material science, it will automatically propel us, and that should be separate than our main office, dealing with developers, brief, show flats, the mundane which we enjoy doing. And so collaboration is very important. And for me, inspiration is actually looking at people with great talent in the arts, whether they're musicians or any creative agencies or scientific agencies. So I think trying to get inspiration, even working from home, needs to be deliberate, and it needs to be planned. Because I think this period may not last forever, so I'm determined to use it to the best, to adapt to the new norm.
Okay, thank you. How about you guys, Ed and Ed?
I think I would echo some of the things that were said. That I find great solace in making things, especially in times when we feel that the world is shrinking, shrank a little bit economically, and there's difficult things around us. That coming into the studio to focus, spend the whole day focused on thinking through something and making something, and being surrounded by people with extraordinary talent. I mean, those are things that are just sort of very, great inspiration comes from that, especially when it's focused on problem solving, around how to rethink something and combining design with strategy. Those are sort of great satisfaction comes from that. And I think, again, I think the challenges are always reminding ourselves that we're in an extraordinary moment. and that we have new opportunities in front of us as a result of it, and just trying to make sure that we're rising to that occasion, and we're always our own worst critics in that regard.
Yeah, very cool. And Ed, what do you think?
Well, and for me, I think this pause really let me understand how life could be and how work-life balance. And I don't know if I told you before, I actually decided to make Karuizawa become my permanent home now. By the way, I ship all my furry kids here, so that's official my home. So that's, and because I found this is the way that I grew up in, I mean, for my first 50 years, I lived in, I'm unmistakably a city boy. So I think now, I feel like when I'm back into the nature, when every day I wake up in the morning, I'm seeing a misty mountain, I'm seeing the beautiful sunshine, that actually giving me inspiration, giving me energy. So I've been really enjoying the last 9 months of time. And I feel this is like, and before when you are in the city, you absorbing it, you're like a spongy, you got bombarded by informations. But now when you're in the nature, you sink down your thoughts. You're looking, now I feel I'm doing design review with my team every morning. It's much, I respond much quicker, sharper. So which is something I kind of enjoy. And of course, by the time when the whole COVID-19 is over, we travel, but it will be the other way around. So before I work and I only spend maybe 1 or 2 weeks in the resort in the nature, but now it's the other way around. I spend principal in the nature and I just go out and see what's happening. And because also the media, with the internet, I think very important, like what Sue said, it's very important to listen, to see what is happening in the world, what the younger generation needs. But I think through here, I mean, through the internet today, we can absorb a lot of things. But once I close I turn off my phone, I close my notebook, by the time I immediately turn around is the nature. So I think this contrast really making it work for me. Yeah, so that's how I get my inspirations.
That's wonderful. From the great nature then, the great nature. Actually, all of you are in quite nature-driven places, right? New York, Ed, you're in New York, right? The other Ed,
that's right.
You're in New York, so it's a beautiful city with great infrastructure. So you're in Singapore most of the time, so it's that perfect balance of the city and the nature and the environment. And Iwan, you're in Australia or Indonesia, or you're going back between both places? Sydney, okay, so it's a great balance as well. Yeah, I think reflecting on everything that you guys have shared with us today, I think in kind of refiguring out our purpose as well as a media in design, we also hope Home Journal can work together with you guys more frequently to, I guess, educate the rest of the community, because it's a global effort. You guys are the creators and you're the drivers, but we have to kind of let people know about what's important, what issues we need to tackle, what these visionaries in different cities and different countries are doing. So we hope to continue to do that, and hope to keep celebrating many more years of great design to come. Thank you so much, everyone, today for joining in on our discussion and supporting Home Journal again, as always. And I hope you guys continue to thrive in what you do, and we'll connect again very soon. And do you guys actually all know each other actually already? Like each of you guys all.
We know each other.
You don't?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know Sue, of course.
I haven't met. It's nice to
collaborate.
It's nice to meet you.
You haven't met. Okay.
Yeah, nice
so
to meet you guys.
Okay, really nice to have you guys.
Emily.
Oh, I'm really glad. No, I hope you guys continue to connect afterwards.
Sure.
Ed's doing it. Yeah, no, it's really interesting because you guys are through the conversations I've had with you guys in the past year or 2 years. You guys have given me a lot of inspiration in design media as well. So we'll be following what you're doing, and whatever Home Journal can do to support your great work. We'll always be happy to do that. Thank you for celebrating 40 years with us, and hope to.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye,
Thank
bye,
you.
bye. Thank you.
Bye,
Yeah,
bye.
thanks again.
Bye. Thanks again, everyone. Good night.
Welcome back. Let's get back to the award ceremony. Now we come to the special part of this showcase. We will be presenting 2 awards. The first one is Emerging Designer of the Year. This award recognizes young designers based in Asia who are making their mark in designer industry with divine and cohesive style true to their individual vision. It is aimed at professional designer aged under 40 years old who have earned international acclaim and boast an impressive portfolio of multidisciplinary design work during the time they have been in practice. Now let me present to you Emerging Designer of the Year. We're delighted to have Mr. Bill Taylor, Regional Vice President and General Manager of Four Seasons Hotel Hong Kong, to present this award for us. The next award will be for Emerging Designer of the Year. Mr. Taylor, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And it is my distinct honor to announce the award goes to Lim Lu.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Vincent,
Great.
congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Very
Thank
well
you.
done.
Thank you.
So now Vincent and Elaine will join Emily to share some thoughts on their design process and their future plans.
Congratulations, Vincent. We're very happy for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, let's sit and let's chat a little bit. So, congratulations, Lim and Lu. We're very excited that you accepted the award for Emerging Designer of the Year, and that's a perfect way of celebrating 40 years anniversary with us, because Home Journal is always on the lookout for young talent and exciting new projects that the younger community of designers are doing. Can you first start by telling us a bit of the recent projects that you're working on right now?
I mean, first of all, thank you for the award. It really is an honor for us.
Yeah, it's an
and,
honor.
You know, being recognized as an emerging designer, I think that's a huge accomplishment for us. And you know, of course, with a lot of, as an emerging designer, I think we're working on a lot of different projects and different scales, but I think one of the more exciting projects that we're working on now is it's a 300-key service apartment in Tianjin, and that to us is a milestone project for us, really.
Yeah.
It's a turnkey apartment, a turnkey project, apartment complex, you meant.
Yeah, I mean, it will be,
Service.
yeah, it will be, exactly.
And it's for a 5-star hotel brand.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it is very exciting. Yeah.
And I think for us, what's interesting is we started off doing a lot of residential projects, and it's interesting to see the transition from, you know, a kind of a standalone apartment, how that translates into a 300-key apartment, a service apartment, and how, you know, just working in the different scales is a huge difference, and it's a nice challenge for us, I think.
Sweet. Is this one of the first serviced apartments that you guys have done?
Yes.
Yeah, this is the
our
first.
first
Yeah,
one. So I think it's a good opportunity for us to kind of break into the hospitality area and arena, since we've really just been working on a lot of residentials and kind of one-off apartments, which we also love doing. I think we love working in different scales. There's something nice about working on a standalone apartment. There's that kind of intimacy and that kind of relationship with the client. And when you go into a larger, more commercial scale project, there's something different about that. You know, everything works a lot more efficient because you have kind of professionals on their end, which you know, they are giving their opinion, and I think the project is a lot smoother. It runs a lot better, and they know exactly kind of what they want, but they're also looking for guidance at the same time.
Definitely. Can you tell me about this project too? What's the end user in mind? Is it a business traveler, or is it young family couples?
It's for a young generation of travelers, kind of like,
I think it's
trendy.
Correct. Yeah. I think it's both for, I think now with kind of everything that's going on, and I think, you know, with technology, it's hard to differentiate between what's, you know, if it's a work trip or a trip for pleasure necessarily. I think there's always a bit of both. Even for us, like, we can't really differentiate between the two. There's no switching off, just because it's so easy to have access to work now. With, you know, it's always in your pocket, and so this hotel is, or this service apartment is meant to kind of cater to that lifestyle. It's a mixture of play and business.
Play and work, yeah. But aside from this project, like Vincent said, we're working on, you know, projects of different scales. So we're working on some tabletop products, some lighting and furniture series with some Danish brands, as well as, you know, residentials, and it goes up as big as, you know, Sophie's apartment. But
Very exciting. Would you say a lot of the clients that come to you are looking for something with an edgier vibe, like a younger, more, there's more of a willingness to experiment when they come to you? Are they quite flexible with how you guys design or pitch? Are they quite drawn to your aesthetic in the first place?
Yes, I think this is true for most of our clients, actually, including, you know, brands and, like, you know, the hotel and commercial brands that come to us. They're quite traditional, big, you know, Hong Kong corporations that are looking for a younger look and a younger feel. And also young families as well for residentials.
I think for a lot of our residential projects, the client that we see tend to be of the younger age, who are maybe just on the cusp of starting their own family. And so, you know, we're of the similar, I would say we're of the same kind of age group. And so they look to us for a lot of the guidance in our lifestyle. They see a lot of similarities in their lifestyle with ours for residentials. And then, like Elaine was mentioning, I think some maybe older traditional establishments also come to us for maybe a refreshed take on their brands, or they want to inject younger life and more energy into their brand, and they're looking to us to kind of guide them and how we can work together to make that come to life, really.
Like, for example, we recently finished a younger restaurant for Yongki. So, you know, Yongki is a very famous, you know, establishment, family restaurant, but they wanted to start a younger line to cater to the new generation. So we just completed a Young's Bistro in K11 Museum.
So very exciting to hear, and I can't wait to see the Tianjin project come to fruition. So can you guys also tell us a bit more about your design process and how the two of you complement each other when it comes to executing the design?
I think when we first start a project, it's a lot of kind of dialogue and kind of understanding what the client wants. So it's really a conversation, and I think it's to understand the chemistry between us and the client, and kind of what's the problem we're trying to solve together. And then it's a lot of internal dialogue between us two and sketching. And we normally feel like at the very early stages of the project, it's very much a collaboration between us and the entire team, really.
And because we both graduated from architecture school, our thinking always stems from the architectural point of view first. So, you know, we go into spatial planning, and then we will talk about, you know, ideas for, you know, the materials and all of that. And because of our background is quite similar in terms of both education and family, I think we complement each other quite well.
You guys are partners in life and partners in work as well. Would you say, is that more conducive to a successful design process or a working relationship in general? Because I've heard mixed,
Right.
mixed feedback,
Yeah.
so it's interesting.
We get asked that quite a lot, actually.
I mean, I think, like I said earlier, there's no kind of off button for us. I think even if we're out, let's say on a date night, we would constantly be kind of soaking in what's around us, and we might be like, oh, that could be an inspiration for this project, or like, oh, what if we took this idea and used it in this other project? So there really is no switching off. Like, it's hard.
I mean, I wish we could switch off, so there's like more of a work life, but it seems like design is really a part of our life.
It's integrated into part of your life.
And I think that's the thing that I think it's not just our life, but I think if you look around, like, I think design is integrated into everybody's life, right? And I think that's why for us, I think design is a lifestyle, and I think there's more of an understanding now about that. Like, it's not just designing the space, but the furniture and the objects that go into the space as well. So that's why I think we're quite happy with, working in different scales and working in different projects, from interiors to objects. I think for us, it's kind of a whole integrated lifestyle.
That's why you've been very successful with a multidisciplinary portfolio from the very beginning. I remember when you guys first started out, you had some very funky furnishing pieces that you exhibited in New York, and then you did a lot of partnerships with Taiping carpets, and then you moved on to residentials, commercial spaces. The spectrum is really very impressive, and so it's really interesting to see how your work continues to evolve. Is there any project, a dream project that you would love to take on?
This is something that I've always talked about, and I think it stems from it's more of a passion project if we could realize it. I think it's back to the whole kind of holistic, everything is integrated, and it's really having a shop, whether it's I think it's a furniture shop that everything
not necessarily furniture,
not
but lifestyle.
A lifestyle store that everything in it is for sale, kind of. But it would be set up in a way similar to like you going into somebody's apartment, and everything you see in it, whether it might be a closet and you'd have all these clothes, but those clothes are also for sale. So I think that's kind of a passion project that we've recently been trying to explore, as well as we could integrate, some of the furniture design into it, books on the bookshelves, like that kind of idea is interesting to me. But I don't know.
Well, are you thinking of such a space in Hong Kong or in Asia or just
right now we don't have. Right now it exists in our minds only.
That would be a dream thing to tackle.
I think Hong Kong real estate and brick and mortar is a little difficult. I wonder if that idea could be executed on an online platform as well. So these are kind of continued discussions that we have to kind of realize that. But I think for us, it's always, I think everything that you touch and you experience is a designed object, I think, and then that's how we see it. So that's why I think the store is kind of an interesting idea for us. If you were to give some advice to a younger generation, people starting off in their careers in design, could you share some words of wisdom for them? Like after how long have you guys been in the business? Actually, around almost 5 years.
Almost 5 years. Someone who's just starting out, thinking of taking a degree in design or architecture. What would you advise them?
Well, I think, first, make sure that that this is really your passion, because I think it's a job that requires a lot of passion. And after graduation, I would definitely advise to not jump into your own thing right away. Like, we worked in New York for quite a few years before we came back to start our own thing. So I think it's good to learn the ropes from established firms, to kind of learn the process and like humble yourself, and then And then when you feel that you're ready and it's time, you know. Yeah.
Then to make the jump.
Yeah. Another thing I would probably advise or recommend is to do a side project, you know, whatever it is. I think when you're first starting out, don't be kind of bogged down on not having clients, because I think they're not easy to come by when you're first starting out. It's always good when they're willing to give you a chance, but let's say you aren't able to get a client immediately, I think it's good to have a side project that you could work on, a passion project, whether it's designing furniture or, you know, renovating, you know, a small space in your home. I think it's important to also invest in yourself, as kind of believing in that your design matters. And once you do that, people will see that, oh, they're actually, you know, they have something to offer. And then that's when you get your next, you know, another chance. And, you know, hopefully that builds on, so you get more chances, and then you eventually have a bigger break, you know, kind of, you know, you're hoping it continues. And that's kind of where we're at now. Like, you know, we've done a lot of residential projects, and now we're trying to go to more, you know, hospitality route. So I think, yeah.
So in a way, like, don't follow so many rules at the outset. Just kind of find your own worth and your own kind of identity, and that's the value. Yeah. That's creating the value in yourself.
I think creating your own projects also.
Yeah, try a lot of different things to see, you know, what you're good at and what you love.
And how about the changing landscape of the design scene in Asia? Have you guys had any observations of that in the years that you've been back from the States?
I think definitely use of color has been something that's been on the rise lately. I mean, it's been for a few years now, but I think definitely a lot more people are more courageous in using color. I think when we first came back, it was quite monotonous. It was still very industrial, kind of everything's black and white and kind of monotone. But now I think it might be an influence through social media, and people are being more exposed to, you know, what everybody else is doing, and a trend.
And I think the spotlight on Asian designers is increasing each day.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, so I think, you know, whoever, you know, if you're interested, you know, to get into design, you know, take advantage of this, you know, ride the wave, and really make yourself known and establish your identity, because the world is looking at us right now.
Definitely, yes. I think there's just still so much untapped potential in the East, and definitely, I think what Elaine said about media being able to spotlight more of these designers, it's very important, and it just globally, you know, there's that recognition, and we can further kind of, you know, the whole cause of design, you know, for the better good for the future. So really excited. Thank you guys. It was really lovely chatting, and congratulations again on both the award, and you're expecting another one soon, another little one soon. So that's, you know, double congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
And hopefully we can have a chat again on our next birthday next year, and then see where you guys are at then.
Yeah, great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is the climax and finale of this showcase, where Home Journal will be presenting a very unique and important awards. This is the Poetry in Design Award, which is awarded to a legend in the industry, someone who has shaped design in one or more fields during his or her career, and in doing so, has created a legacy that is globally acclaimed. It will also signify to the design community's respect to this individual. So now, Emily, please do us the honor of representing this award for us. The next award will be for Poetry in Design Award.
And the winner is Chi Wing Lo. So Chi Wing is currently based in Athens, so we're going to connect with him through a video conference for him to accept this award. So Chi Wing, are you there? Hi. So Chi Wing, can you tell us what does it mean to be honored with the Poetry and Design Award?
Well, Emily and all your team. Thank you for giving this very special and very but particular honor that I think today is quite lacking to address a design direction this way. And I think you are very sensitive on this, and at this moment of design history, that there's a prize like that. And I'm sure before maybe something similar, but not so prolonged as to this way of looking at design. So for that, I'm particularly grateful and honored that you see this being a very important element in design. And I would say design is a little bit like writing. It is. The words is my mean of expression. It's like in design, we use line, surface, point, material, form. These are my letters. I put them together so it gives meaning. And this meaning often very important that it's not just about use. The use is like a mission. You can fulfill it. Writing a poetry in design is like when you're designing a chair, in a way you're writing a poetry. Because every designer somehow have worked on a chair. Why some of them are so flat, so expressionless, and full of effort to support the human body, trying to make you comfortable. And others have succeeded in a certain way. And there are some chairs, when you sit on it, you don't look at just the comfort, it transcends the meaning of a chair, because it touches you. And it's so important today that we are surrounded by objects and things that have feeling towards us. They're not dead bodies everywhere. They're like lively things that speak quietly, and poetry is always speak quietly.
Yes.
And at the corner of a room, and sort of waiting for you to interact. And when you come closer, you discover that somebody is actually a love letter. The design of a chair is like you write a love letter. Yes. I love you. But there's something you hear, I love you, is so flat, so emotional, so a matter of fact. You don't feel it. Others touch you, make you cry, make you bring back many memories, and evoke a lot of associations. And that love letter, I mean the chair, it starts growing in a space where you use it, it becomes part of you. I think it's so important today that we design something that start associating with ourselves in a certain degree, that we are not trying to fill objects in a house with just because we need them. It's like growing up a family of friends, relatives, and everything, that they have feeling towards each other. I think I try to put this in a very simple term. What poetry means in design is as important as literary poetry. It's the same for me. There's no particular difference. It just infuse, whether it's a line of a few words or a chair, an object, a simple table, with that kind of sensibility. So I'm incredibly honored and touched by the fact that somebody that you can recognize that this is important.
It is indeed very important. And I think, after seeing your works, I think everyone will aspire to create such visionary pieces that are poetic in the nature and the design, and just learn from you. There's so much to be learned from, you know, a design icon such as yourself. Could you also share a few words with our general design community on, I guess, maybe some words of support or encouragement? I know it's not easy being a multidisciplinary designer, or a designer in any facet for that matter. Could you, because I think we've had previous conversations before where we spoke about how important it is to be true to your vision and to be true to your roots, and not be so easily swayed by, you know, the different noise and just by commercial elements. Could you reinforce that a little bit for us? And, you know, coming from you, I think everyone would be very much more inspired to hear it from you.
Yes. I guess I'm not speaking to the design community. I'm maybe also speaking to myself. Because it's like something that it always comes to me, and whenever I have a chance to lecture or interact with other people,
yes.
It's normally come to me to discuss. Design in the design world is full of attractions, and it's sort of open to you all kinds of possibility. The most important thing that a designer should be able to have is the capability to relax, meaning that you can
say no.
You can say no, because that decision eventually set a direction, consciously and unconsciously, what you really wanted to do, what you really want to achieve. So with that, that when you say everything, yes, not that is bad, but at least I will not do it, because you just open up to yourself all kinds of attraction.
Yes.
And that attraction may be suitable out of convenience temporarily, but you know, as time goes by, then you eventually settle to somewhere very naturally. It cannot be always like that, except you run a production office.
Yeah.
You give me a design. No, I produce a hotel for you. You give me a piece of land. I produce an office building for you. This is production. This is not really giving yourself the opportunity to make something out of it. In Europe, it's a little bit different than in Asia. In Europe, you can see that people are 50, 60, 70 years old designer. They start having a little project.
Yes.
But that little project is so, it depends on how you look at it. You can finish in one day or you can finish in 5 years. There's so full opportunity there for you to explore.
Yes.
Yet in the other part of the world, that designer very young, just after school, they are given opportunity to design half cities. And very often the world is made up of those conditions that I call it opportunity for the world lost in this kind of process. I also encourage everyone to take a position a little bit backward, sit back a little bit, I mean, to wait for your opportunity. Meaning that you should allow yourself to be discovered by the time that you live, this period of time that you live in this part of the history of the world. And I believe everyone have a chance, because when that selection opportunity comes to you, that make sure that you are ready. The moment you are not ready, you take the opportunity, you spoil the opportunity. And that's why good work good party a good marriage of a party A with a designer is so rare in this kind of process today. Because I strongly believe any designer has a vision, will take those opportunities like what I'm trying to take them as kind of like, it will not come back to you another time. Please do the best, take your time to do it well. You seem to look at me, I do all kinds of things. And I think maybe I told you before, I'm free person, T, Wing, Low.
It's almost unbelievable to imagine that you're one person doing all the multidisciplinary designs that you do. It's almost unbelievable. But I think you keep the quality control, all of it has to be from you. I think that's also a lesson, to teach many people, like, scaling doesn't necessarily mean increasing in numbers as in manpower, but just staying true to that vision, I guess, and you've just always been able to do that. So really just really commend you.
Yeah, I think that part of it, I don't need many words. I need suitable words to express them. And I think I first mentioned the capabilities to say no, and also the idea that chance will come to you at the right moment. When you are selected, make sure you're ready. And I think this whole attitude and notion about a designer related to the world is being understood that way. It allows poetry to be written.
No, it's very true.
So without that, first of all, you're always in a rush. Second is, you feel you're fighting for something. You're looking for recognition by others. Those are negative elements, because this will never be able to contribute good poetry. Poetry never written that way. Poetry is written in a moment that you are settled for something. Your mind is clear. Your role to play beyond the design world in the society, in the world, become clear. What do you want to bring to humanity? What kind of message you want to come across in different time of the history during your lifetime? And I think all this eventually come to play. You cannot avoid it. I mean, it's like you have to be a very sensitive person. And to be sensitive, you need to cultivate an environment for this sensitivity to build up, to grow in you, to see the world is not just through your eye, to touch, to sense, to talk to people. This one, for me, is very little related to design. You have to situate your activity in a global context, beyond a piece of paper, beyond a chair, beyond a space, and how that interact with your work, the rest of the world. I think with that perspective, surely you'll be able to expand greater your creativity beyond what you're doing. Because good work, poetry, music, painting, everything, because it can gather an audience much greater than that object, that piece of work. That is how you relate it to the world. As always, people ask me which one you like architecture or interior or chair.
Which realm of design?
They're all very good. I like all to design all of them, particularly when they're all together.
Yes,
because
all
then
like
I can
generated all together.
The architecture, the interior, the object, object to put inside. All these kind of things, you create layer upon layers of meaning. One reinforces the other. Not an episode that's isolated. So for that matter, I say, well, if I design a chair, I can communicate much with the audience, because you can find them in South America, in Africa, in Europe, because they don't have a locality fixed. I can communicate with more people with that. Architecture, of course, bigger scale, but it cannot be, it's not portable. You stay there. The people you work with, perhaps your client, your engineers, your consultants, and some people, the builders. So these are the people you work with and sort of come up with something like this. Then of course, that piece of architecture will be many people have to mobilize themselves to come and to that particular place. And that's the kind of, so a little bit more passive communication.
Yes.
But a chair, an object, a portable thing is very active because it can go anywhere in the world. So I like them in a very different way, but of course I like them in the recent work that I do. I always emphasize, given the time that I have, I always say, okay, I only take work if it's interior and furniture and object. Make sure the architecture is something that I have feeling. There's a resonance between the bigger space and what I'm doing. Of course, I would like to do all three together.
Yeah.
So whenever I feel the architecture is not something that I'm feeling with, I usually turn it down because I believe that there's not a good communication.
Yeah, so it all has to resonate, right? All the spaces or all the things that you take on, it has to be like a very organic, like resonate with each other for you to agree to. Thank you. That's very beautiful, and I think it's very encouraging for all of us to hear that.
So let me know when you're back in later October, and I'll take you out to tea and present this award to you in person. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for joining us here as Home Journal celebrate 40 years. Next year, we'll see you in person at our next birthday. And a special thank you to our kind sponsor, Four Seasons Hotel Hong Kong and Maserati. See you next time.